President Trump says he's going to take steps to overhaul U.S. elections.
Yeah, more specifically, how some of us choose to vote. The president once again repeated unproven claims that voting by mail and voting machines have made American elections less secure and more prone to fraud. What can he actually do to change how we vote? Joining us now is News Nation's Marcus Espinosa. So, Marcus, exactly what does the president want to do this time around to sort of change things?
Yeah. Hey, Corey and Hillary, good morning. Interesting announcement yesterday, considering everything that was taking place at the White House. President Trump kind of slid this in here. He announced that he wants to sign and will sign an executive order banning mail-in ballots, but that's not it. Also attacking voting machines as well, saying he has a problem with both there. But let's hear it out of his own mouth and his words here on what he thinks and why this is an issue for him.
You can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place.
Not quite right there, so let's add some context. According to the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, 34 countries, including several key U.S. allies, allow voting by mail in some capacity, with 12 countries offering universal mail-in voting. Meanwhile, here in the United States, 8 states, along with Washington, D.C., conduct their elections entirely by mail, meaning voters don't have to request a mail-in ballot. They automatically receive one. However, 28 other states, they offer what's called no excuse absentee voting. That means any voter can request and submit a mail-in ballot without having to provide any sort of specific reason there. So since 2020, President Trump has claimed without any evidence that his election defeat was, quote, rigged due to widespread voter fraud involving those mail-in ballots. However, President Trump also urged his supporters to vote by mail ahead of the 2024 election. But as I mentioned before there just a minute ago, mail-in ballots are not the only thing that he's targeting.
The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else.
And so advocates of mail-in voting say, that's in place to encourage more voting for the elderly, who it may be hard to get to a voting center, for any sort of military folks that are overseas that want to participate as well there. So advocates certainly not happy with this particular announcement from the president and this effort.
Hey, Marcus, realistically, what can President Trump do to stop mail-in voting?
Yeah, so I think no doubt this would head to court if and when he signs this executive order there, because there's not exactly any sort of precedent for this. There's certainly going to be a lot of legal challenges there. So there's a few things to kind of understand. The Trump administration has tried to overhaul voting before, and that has been since rejected and hit some legal roadblocks. So the fact that he's trying to do this is even more brazen. Earlier this year, a judge in 2 separate cases ruled that the president doesn't have authority to impose election rules on states. And then also, if we can bring up a statement here, that Trump may be signaling another legal strategy when it comes to this particular motivation here, saying states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them. So one interesting observation, President Trump himself has reportedly voted previously via that mail-in method as well. President Trump certainly no stranger to contradictions or announcing things at a whim, and that's certainly what happened yesterday there. So we'll see what kind of legal challenges this will have, but certainly they would be brought up almost immediately when he signs this executive order that he says he's going to do.
All right, Marcus Espinosa live for us on this Tuesday morning. Marcus, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Marcus.